Hello, everyone. This is Stacy Hoffman-Farmer with Mountain Serenity Massage. I am here with Dr. George Pratt today. Dr. George Pratt is a clinical psychologist and best-selling author of the book Code to Joy, and he has been in private practice in La Jolla, California for over 30 years, specializing in mind-body techniques, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, and performance enhancement. Dr. Pratt has helped Super Bowl champions, Olympic medalists, business executives, Academy Award, and Grammy winners work through some of their issues. And he provides some amazing one-on-one sessions in La Jolla, California. He also runs an energy psychology seminar in Hawaii, where part of that is swimming with the dolphins. So he's able to live his best and most exciting life, and he's helping others at the same time. So Dr. Pratt, it is truly an honor to speak with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Stacy, so nice to talk to you.
That's great. So I wanted to dive right in. I know your basis is in psychology and clinical psychotherapy. It's a little different modality than we've been doing throughout this series, but still based in energy work. So mind and energy and how it's working together. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about the clinical psychotherapy and how that method works.
Well, even in clinical psychology, originally I'm traditionally trained psychologist, and then I learned things that were really useful after that. And so my approach is an integrative one, integrating both the best of Western tools and then having the opportunity of using integrative tools as well. So when I started out, psychologists really didn't do much rather than talk therapy. And very frequently, talk therapy gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you very far. It's important in certain areas, but when you have blocks, when you have traumas, when you have long-standing issues, you need some power tools to break through them, not just talk about them. So that led me to get interested in the area of hypnosis originally, and that was my first book. And seeing what could happen with the power of the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind, or also called the unconscious, is about 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind. The number of neurons that fire per second at the conscious level is 20 to 40 neurons firing per second. At the subconscious level, 20 to 40 million neurons firing per second.
Wow.
Might as well harness the firepower of the subconscious along with the conscious mind, and then add in the power of energy, the body's energy. We are electrical, and when you pass electrical or you pass electricity, you create a magnetic field, and hence the integrative methods of the East with meridians and also chakras. It all works together. So that's what I do in combination along with the traditional, but unblocking with the complementary or the integrative tools to help people in the most efficient way. So I get to do this. I have clients in about 28 countries. So I do a lot of Skype. And so it's great. I mean, I see lots of people here in La Jolla, but these tools just lend themselves to opportunity to reach people that are kind of hard to get to.
Absolutely.
So then it helps empower them. And if you know that you can fix a problem very frequently, one that has persisted for a long, long time, it's so empowering and invigorating to feel that sense of release that you feel like you can do anything if you set your mind to it. So one of the things I do is I help people remove blocks. I help people to create a greater potential for themselves. Most of us operate at about 10%, between 8 to 10% of our potential. And one way to identify that is with neuromuscular feedback or muscle testing, clinical kinesiology. And you can see where people are, and then you can develop a program on how to get them to their top level. So that's what I do. I have two major categories. One is helping people resolve issues and manage dilemmas constructively, but fix problems frequently. Then the other is to help people achieve their goals. So in that regard, I've helped lots of different people, and even if I don't exactly know what their field is, using the subconscious, the conscious mind, and the body's energy system, we can do wonderful things. We're capable of so much more than we know.
Oh, that's really incredible. I really like the way that you're blending both Eastern and Western philosophies, because Western philosophy is typically that psychoanalytic side that you were talking about, the psychotherapy. And then the Eastern modalities would be considered more of the hypnosis, the energy. Muscle testing, actually, I think is more of an Eastern philosophy as well. I was recently introduced to that modality, which is pretty powerful.
Yes, there are so many wonderful approaches, and it's interesting to see how they've evolved in different countries. And if you approach it as a smorgasbord where you're trying different techniques that fit with your own personality and with the people that you're seeing, you can create a great effect in a relatively short period of time. Something that happened 2 weeks ago, I see people sometimes for an ongoing basis and consult with them. And many times I will see people for 1 or 2 visits to help unblock them in some way. But to show you how short it can be, there was a 17-year-old boy that was brought to me last week who had been kidnapped at gunpoint, driven out to the desert. And so wonderful things happened, and he got away.
Thank goodness.
So he came in, and along with his family, and by using these combination of desensitization methods, cleared the trauma and then installed positive beliefs about himself, about being capable and worthy and able to take care of himself, et cetera, et cetera. And so in about 60 minutes, that trauma was gone. Now, he did not have other major problems. It was a very specific thing, and it's just like going in on a laser, taking it out, and then empowering the person to create a wonderful life. So it can be very brief too.
Oh, that's really incredible. And thank goodness that young man had a happy ending for something that could be so horrible. So absolutely. I'm very glad to hear that. But the fact that it moves
if you leave traumas untreated in the body, from UCLA research in cytokines, which are the precursor to various stress hormones, there's a 20% permanent elevation in the tendency to create illness.
Oh my goodness.
Your trauma, 20% unless you clear it. So
wow.
That's what you don't want to have accumulated problems. You want to do something about it. So that's actually what my last couple of books have been on, is how to clear that. It's emotional healing, acupressure for the emotions, or the one that you mentioned, Code to Joy. So they both have elements of that. So we want people to learn how to do these things, even for regular self-care.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty powerful when you say that there is a physiological response in the brain that goes with a trauma. And as for many people watching out there, trauma can be various things. Obviously, the example was something quite specific and very, very violent. Many people have experienced really extreme trauma like that, but you know, trauma can be something that maybe you don't think is really terrible, but it causes trauma to you. So maybe somebody says something unkind to you without even meaning to, but that creates a trauma inside yourself that you're then carrying through.
And that sticks in the body. It's amazing. And you can tell that with the clinical kinesiology. And you can go back to the event and then take it out. In Code to Joy, I'm talking about the circumstance where there are something called microtraumas, or little issues, seemingly little issues, but they have a huge effect. Then also asteroid strikes, where you had something huge, let's say kidnap case, etc. But what happens is these microtraumas can be just as powerful as the obvious ones. And if you don't take them out, if you don't heal them, it can affect the body physically. It can interfere with your ability to feel worthy of love, success, etc. There was a gentleman I saw recently, well, about a year ago, and then he stays in touch. His father was in law enforcement, and we were using neuromuscular feedback to identify the age, and it was about age 6 where his father was trying to motivate him, and he said, hey, you're never going to be any good at anything if you don't do da da da, but repeatedly, you're never going to be, and that's what he heard. And so he was stuck in a position where he was making a certain amount of money a year, and he thought that he should be capable of more. Well, by clearing that belief and a few other beliefs, such as not feeling worthy, not feeling deserving, not feeling safe, clearing those beliefs, that in a year's time, 6 months' time, he doubled his income, and in a year, quadrupled it.
Wow, that is really powerful. And that was rooted in that self-worth that his father didn't realize he was creating a
trying to help,
microtrauma.
But he was obviously raised in a way that, you have to almost be degraded to achieve, but that doesn't help. So, and sometimes very slight sentiments and statements can interfere with a person's belief in themselves. So that's what you have to identify. So in Code to Joy, I have a little chapter called An Interview with Yourself. So you can go through, check off things that have happened. Oh, I don't have any problems. Oh, I have that. Oh, I have that. I have that. And you can frequently group them together and clear them using the combination of the conscious and subconscious and energetic techniques.
Wow, that is really powerful as well. I would encourage everyone to take that test. I know we all think we don't have issues, but clearly if you're interested in this,
particularly guys.
That's true.
I don't have any issues.
That's true. Men are taught, I think, more frequently than women that they need to power through. So I see that frequently with massage clients as well. They don't want to come to terms with the fact that they have some physical pain. I don't know if they don't want to release it or if there's some kind of positive feedback to being the strong man. But, I think it's unfortunate that there's a training in this society, as you were saying earlier, that the father of this young man was using negative feedback to motivate. And I think that happens quite commonly. You see it in the workplace as well, where perhaps you're being threatened with a demotion or being let go from your job in order to motivate you to do better. And I think that negative feedback causes problems. Yes, the fear of feedback.
Well, also with your work, with using the body and massage, frequently certain energy blocks from traumas, beliefs, expectations get stored in different parts of the body. And when you clear the emotional component, it's much easier to deal with the physical component. I saw someone a couple months ago that had a very severe car accident about 6 years before and had seen osteopathic physicians, massage, a variety of things. Massage helped, but the massage person wasn't energetically oriented.
So dealing with the physical aspect only. Mm-hmm.
Right, and doing it in a rote fashion rather than what you do in your interest in emotions. Well, what had happened is he'd been in a very severe car accident, and he had developed a pain syndrome, a couple pain syndromes, and he'd been going from doctor to doctor and with really no avail and the same level of pain. After the first time I saw him, I took him back to the time of the accident, took him through the accident, treated him for the emotional distress, trauma, rage, fear, thought of losing his life or his wife's life, cleared those elements, and the pain cleared in about 85% to about an 85% level. And then he was able to benefit from massage and other modalities because the block was released. We can get blocked, but we can also get unblocked. And if we know there are things that you can do to heal, it really puts the responsibility on the individual to pursue methods that are going to help them.
Absolutely. It's been a theme throughout this series, and it's coming up again, which I think is just incredible. I'm really tying this together, is that the body knows what it needs. So in this case, this person's body knew that he had been traumatized, and he thought massage was the way to go. And there are so many other ways that you can clear those blocks. Massage was not where he needed to go first. His body knew he needed an emotional release, that he needed to clear the trauma of a car accident. I mean, it's so scary. Every one of us have been through those kind of things where you just have an immediate, anxiety, fear-based response, and then deal with car insurance later, and it gets stressful, and the anger at having the car being wrecked, things like that.
The unresolved emotional feelings that if you don't deal with them, they will deal with you later.
Yeah.
So it's better to deal with them earlier on so that you can recover.
Absolutely. So that's great that 85% just from releasing a block that had manifested physically in his body as pain.
Right.
So
I do some pain work, and even in general, if someone has had an accident or a trauma or something has happened in terms of an emotional state associated with pain, typically 50% clears pretty easily. Clear the emotional component, and then that makes the person available for other modalities. But if you don't treat that, then it tends to be pretty stuck.
absolutely. Well, as we've seen in this series so far as well, emotions are fluid. They're fluid states that are meant to be passing. And we have trouble in this society, first of all, acknowledging that we have emotions at all. We're sort of conditioned to believe that we shouldn't feel anything but the really good stuff. Everyone wants to feel happy and things like that, but those lower emotions, that fear, that anxiety, that anger, the grief, they're meant to be there for a reason. So it's good to acknowledge them. So as Dr. Pratt said, you can remove the block. So the block is
a little bit like we were talking about fear,
mm-hmm.
and I like the acronym for fear: face everything and recover.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is absolutely appropriate.
If you try to hide from it, it's not so good.
Exactly.
So the combination of the tools that I use besides the standard ones, tapping, we wrote the second book on tapping,
Mm-hmm.
derivative of TFT, and so tapping on meridian points with feedback loops to the brain and the body, incredibly helpful. Done tens of thousands of treatments at this point, and it's just fantastic for people.
Wow.
Then EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, where a person thinks about the event, then moves their eyes in certain patterns that helps link different parts of the brain to work at the same time to reprocess and release them. So that's a very powerful tool. Yeah, EMDR.
Okay.
Then and then hypnosis. That's how as I said, originally there weren't many power tools in psychology, and so I'd had quite a bit of training in that, and it relaxes people, it empowers them. They're not controlled by someone, a doctor that's using hypnosis. They're just facilitating the state and helping the person kind of open up so that they're responsive to positive suggestions, congruent with their beliefs. So you work with it works wonderfully. And that three-part harmony of, let's say, energy psychology, EMDR, hypnosis, tapping, those powerful tools together help empower people and help people resolve problems.
That's wonderful. The number 3 has been coming up very strongly with this series as well. And in my own work, I'm very, very connected with the mind, body, spirit connection, which is a threefold way of handling your holistic health. So the body is only one piece, and as Dr. Pratt has described, the mind is a serious factor when you're dealing with stuff that's happening inside your physical body. And then bringing in that spirit connection, your higher self, working in that energy space is that third piece. And then you get into the things that can really heal you. So it's really beautiful that even with your specific techniques that sound very scientific, there's still that threefold response that is accessing the mind, the body, and the spirit at the same time to release those emotional issues and that physical pain. That's really beautiful.
it's important how you phrase this to people to work within their value systems, and they may not know what they need, but so you explain to them the possibilities and how that works, at least to a certain level, and then people feel comfortable doing it. And the nice thing is, one idea is, let's say you're traumatized at a 10 on an issue. So you get back to 0, people are thrilled. I mean, you have something that's a 10, major block, you're back to 0, you're thrilled. Well, that never interested me very much. So in my original work, the idea was to take people from a 10 to a 0, then to a plus 10, so that they're maximizing their abilities. They're not just absent a problem, they're empowered. I'll give you one example that I have a release from. I was on someone's TV show, Rob Dyrdek, Fantasy Factory. My daughter was very thrilled. She said, the Larry King shows, Dad, he's pretty old. But he's very spicy, I'll tell you, as I was telling you earlier. Coaching his boys' baseball teams. But what happened on the show, and Rob likes to send people to me, and as I said, I have a release. When I first met him, he was a skateboarder and kind of banged up and needing some direction, so we did some things. We still talk. But in the last 6 months, he just did a redo of his contract for Fantasy Factory and Ridiculousness for $26 million.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I know. All right, where's my cut? And,
For helping
what happened so because of that work, most people don't know about these kinds of tools. And so as part of an episode, he brought his cousin down. We filmed it. And his cousin, literally on the show, Drama, was staring at walls. He actually was. That was
okay.
And just kind of unmotivated. And so he said, George, do some of the stuff that you do. So we filmed it. He then kind of caught fire. I mean, emotionally, he had some traumas. We released them. And he was interested in music, and he started doing some background work for some famous musicians. But he got interested. He was motivated. We lit his
fire,
and we unblocked him for creating financial success. Then he developed a clothing line, and last year made $12 million.
Oh my gosh.
So
these
I guess we could create clothing lines so we could donate to programs to treat people for free.
Absolutely. I think that sounds like a great idea. Yeah. So for those of you watching, these interviews that Dr. Pratt is talking about are on his website, drgeorgepratt.com. He has been interviewed by Larry King several times. Larry King apparently is very spicy when he's in person, so they sound like fun interviews. They're really great. And then he is speaking about Rob Dyrdek, the former skateboarder, and how his work impacted.
He's still a skateboarder. He's not former.
Okay, he's still I don't watch skateboarding. I'm sorry, Rob.
Me either.
So, but work is so key. So, and it sounds like it helped his career as well. He was able to move past some traumas and really be his best athletic self also.
When you believe in yourself, everything works. But you have to believe in yourself. Just like that young child with the negative programming from his dad. If you don't believe in yourself, things don't work very well. So you want to feel that you are worthy and worthwhile, that you can trust yourself, that you're feeling connected to the universe, so you're not isolated and alone, and that you can create a new identity from I don't mean the witness protection program, I mean creating a new identity from the one that you have that encompasses your ability to love yourself, to feel good physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever you want, so that you can be your best and enjoy life and to be a benefit to others too. So that when you take good care of yourself, then you're more capable of helping others one way or another. whether volunteering, which is also very good for your brain and your body's immune system, connecting with others, being inspiring, etc.
Absolutely. That's all good points. Yeah, so I think we've seen this recurring theme throughout the series as well, is that self-love theme. I mean, you're going to love yourself best first, and then other love comes to you. You're not going to find that outside of yourself. And we're so trained in this society to think that we don't need that we need to find something outside of ourselves, and we're missing a big component of really feeling connected. You need to love yourself. You know what you need, and you know how great you are. You just have to acknowledge it. So that's great.
And if you don't love yourself, learn how to love yourself. And there are energetic techniques that work pretty rapidly in that regard too. I've seen many people, I just can't meet anybody, but the person has self-worth on a 0 to 10 scale, like a 1 or a 2. You're not going to connect with anyone. You want to appreciate and respect yourself, not be ostentatious, but to love and like and respect yourself. Because if you love and like and respect yourself, you're going to treat yourself well, but you're going to have an attitude of treating others well, and people feel that energetically. So
absolutely. And everyone's looking for that. Everyone's looking for that good treatment of feeling really great about themselves first, and then having someone else treat you really well at the same time. We look for that with our parents, with our partners in life, our children, our friends. Everyone wants to feel like they're respected and really valued for what they bring to the table. And you can find that.
And if you grow up in an environment where, let's say, there was conflict at home or alcoholism in the family, and the child was not loved and was not told that they were loved, then they need to do some work to heal that, because they can turn that pattern around.
Absolutely. That's great. And I mean, the techniques that Dr. Pratt uses are very all-encompassing. Muscle testing is a really powerful tool because, as they've said, you can never fool your body. Your body is automatically going to give you a yes or no response based on how it really feels about something. So I encourage people to look into muscle testing as well, and look into how Dr. Pratt uses that in his own work. It'll really give you an insight into how you're doing.
And I'll give you another example. This has to do with both emotional mood and financial success. This person came to see me, had seen, they were kind of, they came into the office and they said, well, what makes you think that you can help me? And I said, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. So I've seen the best psychiatrists in London, New York, and San Francisco. What makes you special? And I said, I have no idea. Tell me what the problem is. But they had an attitude. They had suffered for so long, they became pessimistic and negative and really doubted anything could be done. So this person who had originally made a tremendous amount of money and then lost everything.
Oh my.
And then started to restabilize. So what they came in, and in the first visit I said, gee, what do you think is going on? And
I don't know. Yeah.
Fine. So actually the story is in the book. The person, I identified that age 7 was some kind of pivotal experience. And they said, I don't remember age 7. I said, just close your eyes and think back to childhood, because your arm is saying that's related. And so this high-powered person, she said, oh my goodness, I remember something happened that I was helping my grandmother move furniture, and my grandmother gave me 25 cents. It was the first money I ever earned. And I was so excited. I went back to tell my parents. They were having a big family dinner. And she was so excited to share the good news. And her parents humiliated her in front of everyone and said, you don't take money from family members. How could you do something like this? We didn't raise you, et cetera, et cetera. So she imprinted subconsciously money is bad, and if you have it, you got to lose it, because coming back to that point of how she felt then, treated that, did some other things with her, and she rebuilt the advertising firm and then sold it at a
Pretty penny.
yeah. So, but if you have that subconscious program, you don't even know it, you have to identify it so that you can resolve it, heal the cause, not just the symptom. If you just heal the symptoms, you're just going to go around in circles. And that's usually what people have been doing that I end up seeing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there can relate to this. I know I certainly can. A lot of experiences that happen when you're very young really form how you interact with the world. And I know a lot of people struggle with the money issue, especially in this society, which is crazy because we're in a capitalist society, right? That's all about make the money. But at some point, most people really do have that connection that money is bad, that I shouldn't have it, that I shouldn't accept it. And it's kind of a difficult block for people to get through. So that's pretty incredible, just one block. And she took a zero to, however many millions of dollars she likely sold that firm for.
She did very, very well. And then also was happy. She could love herself again. She felt guilty. Guilt seeks punishment subconsciously. She felt guilty, negative associated with money. And if I have it, I'm going to lose it to get back to an equilibrium subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens one way or another all the time. It might not be something as dramatic as 25 cents and being humiliated, but negative beliefs about money that you want to change so you don't have the problems. If you want to accomplish a goal, identify the blocks, then correct them and become healthier, happier, etc., more successful.
Absolutely. Well,
most of us use a fraction of our capacity.
Absolutely. I know our brains are much more powerful than we give them credit for. And, your brain does create your existence. I know people struggle with that belief. We're coming around to it slowly in this society, but, you really are thinking and creating all the time. And hearing that scientific standpoint again, that your subconscious is really the one responsible for how much brain activity is going on around the thought. That's pretty powerful. Imagine what you're doing when you're on, autopilot. Your subconscious is just thinking these things that you don't consciously remember from back in your past.
And that's what led me to do the fourth book on this issue, because with the checklist, you can identify them and do something to correct them and at least be to balance about it. What we know is from about ages 1 to 6, pretty much everything you hear, you absorb. There's no filter. Mm-hmm. From about 6 to 12, there is some filter, but not much. So if somebody says, oh, you're never going to be any good, or you don't deserve that, or you're a bad boy, or etc., mm-hmm. that's going to be internalized in your belief system. So after about age 12, there are more protective elements where you don't absorb everything just automatically. But obviously persistent statements of negativity get through. But it's almost like we're self-hypnotically interfering with our own development. So that's why you want to use positive self-hypnosis to accomplish what you want and clear the beliefs that are draining you.
Absolutely. So a great place to start, of course, is finding out, first of all, if you even know what's happening to you, or if you can think of something maybe that's more obvious that feels negative to you, and trying to turn that into a positive. Those negative thoughts, again, they really do hold themselves in your body. Dr. Pratt has been talking to us about blocks. Think of an energy block as a very physical thing inside your body that can cause pain. I mean, I deal with people a lot that have shoulder issues or neck issues, low back issues. And while the muscles are starting to feel better, it's recurring. And again, thinking about self-hypnosis, as you just said, if you continue to think that negative thought, all of a sudden you're recreating the negative pattern in your physical body as well. So it's hard to relate. You just need to get that emotion moving, move it through, acknowledge it's there so you can get it out. And then that pain starts to recede.
Well, massage is very important, mind, body, spirit. And what happens, let's say with 0 to 6 and 6 to 12, is you create negative self-hypnosis where you think you're not worthy of being successful. So we want to turn that into positive, but you have to do some things to accomplish it. That brings up the issue of many times people will say, but I am thinking positively. Every day I tell myself I'm good enough and da-da-da. And what happens is there's a block. So you have to identify the difference between positive thinking, which only works while you're actively thinking the positive belief.
Mm-hmm.
But when you stop, all of the negative subconscious material comes up that this isn't going to work, you're no good, etc. So you have to change positive thinking to creating positive beliefs, so that the beliefs, when you're not trying to automatically think positive, swell up and strengthen. So you want to move positive thinking to positive beliefs.
Oh, that sounds great. So positive thinking is the stepping stone. Positive belief is how you reinforce it and it moves further. Positive life, that's usually how it works out. So if you can really get into those issues, Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today, Dr. Pratt. This has been really enlightening, especially for me. I hadn't really dealt a whole lot with the hypnosis type thing, that aspect of the psychology that goes into the emotions. That was very eye-opening. And I do encourage anyone out there who's resonating with this type of work, please check out his website, drgeorgepratt.com. He has multiple books. We talked about Code for Joy a little bit, but he does have other books that build on all of his teachings. I think it would be really incredible for anyone who wants to find out more about this.
I do have lots of DVDs and CDs that also help people hypnotically or in terms of letting go of things, helping people to create the life that they want.
Oh, that's great. So, and at the end of this series, Dr. Pratt is giving away a free gift, and we'll send more details on that as the interview goes out. So with that, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Pratt. We really appreciate it.
Stacy, a pleasure, and sending you positive thoughts. It's been a delight.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.